can I now move to our next session? We've got Drew McTavish from PropPick. Drew McTavish has extensive experience in various roles within the technology and real estate industries. Drew is currently the head of product at PropPick since February 2020. Previously, he held the position of head of digital at LJ Hooker from February 2017 to October 2019. So he knows the real estate industry quite well. And before that, they were the real estate solutions manager, corporate at LJ Hooker from May 2013 to March 2017. Additionally, Drew worked as an IT project manager at LJ Hooker from April 2010 to May 2013. And my notes tell me that Drew McTavish attended Epping Boys High School from 1987 to 1992. But here's a real gem. There is no information available about the degree or field of study he pursued during this time. I wonder if ChatGPT generated this bio. Please put your hands together for Drew McTavish from PropPick.
All right, okay. Get my gear organised here. First up, thank you to Ken, Emily and Peter for organising me to be here today. It's an absolute honour always to get up and talk about this sort of stuff to our customers who are agents. So I'm really pleased to be here. I see Sam's been on my LinkedIn profile, which probably hasn't been updated as much as it should have. But in that time, I've been in the prop tech space for about 20 years. The first CRM I worked on was actually in DOS. I don't know, does anyone here know what DOS is? Yeah, back in the good old days. But in that time, I've not only done work in the prop tech space, I've been an agent, I've been a franchise owner, I've been on all sides of the real estate space. And the role I'm in now at PropPick is really a real estate sort of solutions and innovation advisory role to make sure the products and the innovation we do in technology space matches the needs of agents. So I couldn't agree more with what Sam was saying and what Kylie was saying. And hopefully that some of the things that Kylie was talking about in terms of some of those pain points around integrations and what the tech does for agents and how get onboarded and all those things come to life. What we're going to do here today is we're going to talk a little bit about our journey at PropPick and what it looks like to kind of use some of these tools and just take you on a little bit of a journey, show you what we've got and share our latest iteration product, which is a generative AI property assistant for you guys. And we're really pretty excited to share this with you and showcase it because it's kind of the first time we've launched this version of the product to a group of this size. So we're pretty excited about that. So let's jump on. I believe you had a cracking day yesterday talking about a whole lot of technology and all that sort of thing, and this idea of generative AI and AI tools and all that sort of stuff. And this is what we do. We sort of take those tools at PropPick and we kind of bundle them up and put them in a box so that you can actually get some advantage. That journey, if you like, of iteration from these tools to product, it's not really ever a straight line. It's kind of a bit of a crazy squiggle, and that's based on our good ideas. That's taking product to market, that's getting agent feedback, that's getting business owner feedback, industry feedback, consumer feedback, rethinking those ideas, reiterating product, and then going again. So today we're going to talk about this notion of handrolic tools, which is always a kind of Kylie talked about, and I think someone down here asked the question about data and getting it from here to there, and we use the term in our business handrolic, where you've got great tools, but you kind of got to go to this tool, grab it out of there, go to this tool, grab it out of there, go to this tool. It's sort of automated, but there's a lot of hands-on, and our journey of taking those tools and the benefit of those tools and specifically trying to turn that into a solution for real estate agents is a little bit of the journey we're going to go on today. So when we talk about generative AI, in our world, this is a bit of I actually asked ChatGPT to define this for me and it did a pretty good job, but we talk about this idea of AI that is really a subset that involves machines creating new content and original content. And they go about doing that by taking inputs and kind of using, mimicking the human brains. Massive data sets that Kylie talked about. And I'm happy to share this pres with anyone that wants it. So if you want to take photos, that's okay, but I'm happy to share it. You can shoot me an email and we'll get it through to you as well. But the idea of generative AI is mimicking this human brain And from those models that it has, gives it the ability to create new content, things like images, text and video, and I believe there's a video guy up here yesterday who was talking about some amazing stuff in that space. Our world is very much in the content and text space, and moving into kind of iterative video for property marketing, but we'll talk about that in a second. So the idea of this is we assimilate all this data. We bring it together, we rehash it, and then when someone asks a question in our world around a property, we can then answer it with this new version of content. I'll explain that as we go along. But when you talk about these presentations, and we kind of think, well, you know, AI, the history of AI, don't want to spend too much time on this, but first kind of iteration of AI, 1972, way back then, around when I was born. Two big dates on here. Propic got into the market. We launched our first property-specific AI for the real estate industry in about 2019. And in 2021, November 22, I should say, November 30, actually, ChatGPT went live it was live in various iterations behind the scenes, but it went live to the public. Put your hands up if you kind of were aware of that Christmas and everybody was sort of talking and like, have you heard of this thing, ChatGPT? Have you seen it? Have you seen what it can do? And it was blowing everybody's minds. And really, this idea of the chat on the front end of AI was what allowed all of us punters to be able to tap into that technology and get that hydraulic benefit. So we could now go, okay, you know, we want to write an ad. If I just go into ChatGPT and I kind of type in there and I can, you know, say it's a 3-bedroom and it's got this and it's got that and it's got all these things and it's in this area and it'll write me maybe it's a pretty good ad. It's certainly a good start to an ad. And that kind of took off. And there's been so much iteration in that space, but that was a turning point in this world, that idea that smart technology could be accessed by people who need it in the industry. So if you know this prompt, you know the power of that tool. Who's using ChatGPT on a pretty regular basis? This is an AI conference, so I'd expect most people in the audience would be in this space to some degree. But what I noticed as soon as it went live is that some agents started using it, and then all the real estate coaches and influencers started talking about how agents should be using it. Did you guys feel that as well? And it's ongoing, right? And that's not a bad thing. They're constantly reminding the industry how they can do better. So when we talk about this hydraulic side of things, it often looks like this. And someone will say, you know, you should just jump onto ChatGPT and you could do this thing and you could, you know, iterate it a little bit, and then you take that output and you just put it into your final solution, which is pretty cool. But in reality, you sort of maybe run it back through the machine a few times, you update the prompt, you edit the prompt again, and you kind of say, no, make it a bit more formal, make it a bit shorter, make it a bit longer, whatever that might be, a few iterations, and then it kind of ends up looking more like this. You've done it a few times, and then someone says, you know what, if you want to do that, you should get a custom GPT. That could do all that for you. And then you know what? If you had an API integration to this system over here, and then you had a website plugin, and you can do this download, and if you download that data from here, and then you upload the data to there, and then you can get this other AI website, and if you use this other tool over here, bring it all together, it'll save you so much time. And you're kind of going, what? How does all this new stuff save me time? And so it's awesome. And you guys, some of you in the room are probably at that bleeding edge of using a half a dozen tools that maybe I and other people haven't even heard of, which is awesome. But it is, and it can be a bit of a drain. And a lot of us, certainly the agents that aren't at this AI conference, are really struggling with this. So what we do in the AI space is sort of productize and turn this process for you guys into a solution that you can get access to, which is pretty light in terms of that integration piece, and certainly pretty light in terms of training. And we'll show you what it does in terms of how we bring that to you guys. So, oh yeah, and this is the critical thing. On that last step, double check, triple check, then go. I don't know if you guys saw this. It was a couple of months ago. This poor lady down in Melbourne popped this ad up onto Domain, and as you can see here, it's got the ChatGPT prompts in there where she said, can you please rewrite this ad for this property for me? You know, yes, absolutely. Here's the rewritten rental ad for this property. And I think, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I think this person should become known as ChatGPT girl and embrace this and just have every ad that she puts up like this. But again, it's one of the downsides of having a few different tools on the go. And it's certainly a downside of having a lot of tools on the go at scale. And you can just, in a moment of weakness, this would have gone through, and I don't even know if she's in the industry anymore, but we'll see. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with AI in the space, and I imagine, as I said before, as an AI conference, I would imagine that tons of you guys are doing stuff like this, and probably there's a heap of other things, and video content, and all sorts of things are exploding, but there's tons of ideas. Now, that being said, we're going to narrow in on how we kind of turned our solution into a product and some of the challenges when you take some of these AI tools and try and turn them into a product that nobody's looking at. One of the benefits of those arrows backwards and forwards and me doing the driving of the tool is my eyes are on it all the time. As soon as you take that away and you're asking the machine to do the work and potentially put it in front of your customers, you need to be very aware of what it's doing. So, making the jump from this hydraulic side of things to a solution for us as a business at Propic, that's what we do every day. So what does it kind of look like, and some of the things that we had to be aware of as we started to build a tool that was going to be let loose into the wild in front of your customers on a daily basis. So some interesting things. Did this little exercise a little while ago, and it's a little bit of fun. We typed into ChatGPT, drew a picture of an agent that writes about $100,000. We didn't specify gender, but it drew a picture of a man. And there is inherently a bit of gender bias in AI models. I read an article this morning that said ChatGPT is actually a Democrat. I didn't know that, but there is a political bias in some of the AI models. But the assumption that our tools, when they were talking about agents and what gender they were. So we'll get Alex to call you back and she'll be in touch and da-da-da-da-da, when Alex might not have been a lady or might have been a man. So we had to, it's a simple example, but it's one of the things that we had to think about and think about at scale, because there's lots of variance for that to happen, and when that creeps in, it's not a good experience for you or your customers. So legislation, Kylie made the point this morning about local legislation. It's very different across every state. We have customers in every state across Australia. So when we're talking to customers and they're asking us questions on your behalf about, can I have a pet? In Victoria, you have to kind of say, yes, we'll negotiate on your behalf. We may not be able to approve it, but you kind of have to go through the process. But in the CRM, you tick no pets. So there's a bit of a conflict there around what the agency was saying and what the actual consumer law is. There's we're in Queensland here, information around pricing and auctions and the auction price process and what you're allowed to talk about and what you're not allowed to talk about. Very different to New South Wales in terms of price guides and things like that. So when we're mashing all our data together, building an AI model that's going to service your customers, we need to be really, really aware of that. And it's a big piece of our puzzle. Something as simple as a joke. So this is a real example I just punched in there. I said to one of our property assistants, I asked it if it would tell me a real estate joke, and it came up with, why did the house go to the doctor? Because it had a window pane. That's not bad. I mean, that's a bit of a dad joke, but that's all right. And then I said, tell me a dirty joke. And it said, as an AI assistant, I'm here and I'm very professional and I won't be able to ask that. I won't be able to build that for you. And it's a silly little example of where there is actually a line in the tool where you can have a bit of fun and you can let the tool do what it does, but it won't go over that line. One of the really interesting things is using data appropriately. So our tool is it's a data scientist. We ingest every single change that happens on the portals on a 24-hourly basis, and we turn that into our model so that a consumer could ask this property assistant about whether or not this property is a good deal in the market based on other properties that are available. But as an agent, you may not want them to have that. You may not want an AI to do that. You probably have a very good conversation about it, but as the agent in control of the marketing of that property, we might want to flick that button off. So we have the technology, but we don't want to utilise it in that context. So we are very mindful of that. The example I've got on the screen there is, this is a Stone property example, and I asked it if Stone was a better agency than Ray White in the local area, or Ray White was the better agency. And it said, as a virtual assistant, I'm not going to talk about that. The guys at Stone work very hard. They do the best job for you. And so we limit the ability of the tool, even though it could go in there and say, you know what, based on the data, Ray White did 26 sales last week and they had a higher average sale price and they were we don't want that. So using the data we've got appropriately to put properties and agents in their best light, it's a really big piece of our puzzle. This is a cracker. Agents have a way of doing things. You'd know that. And often they're very, very different from agency to agency. So it's something as simple as, I want to talk about price. How you control the tools and the setup in the CRM, and our tool allows you to do some interesting things. You might want the tool to talk about price. You may not want it to talk about price. You might not want to talk about price on a portal, but you do want to talk about price when they're engaging with the AI. Things like contracts. We can deliver contracts. We can deliver pest and building reports. We can do all kinds of things, but our models are built to be able to interact with how you want to do things as an agent and get it to do the way you want to do the work, rather than us forcing you as agents to do the work the way we want you to, which is, I think, sometimes a bit of a problem in PropTech. So, why are these glasses on screen? This is the biggest thing about that hydraulic jump to an automated system, and that is that there's no one watching that data. So, personally, I have read over, just literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inquiries of our tool, looking at buyer inquiries, leasing inquiries from realestate.com and Domain, and seeing how our tool answers in infinite different ways, because when we put a tool in front of your customers, we need to trust it's going to do the right thing, and it's going to abide by those rules. It's going to take that legislation into consideration. It's going to answer appropriately based on the data it's got and the data it creates. And we've got some incredible tools that I'm going to show you now that are kind of, for us, just been productized. They're in our latest version. They're available, but it's pretty exciting because, as I said, it's only recently kind of gone to market in this version. So that's kind of a little bit of our journey. I'm going to share with you now what the kind of tool looks like in our world as an AI tool, how you guys could leverage it, and what we kind of do as Propic. So, jumping on. It's just funny, I didn't create this slide based on what Kylie said either, but we really do believe that we want to create a tool that is really useful, does what it's supposed to do, it's there for you, but it's not just something you have to buy because it's the latest shiny thing. We really do believe that we must create measurable benefit or improvement in efficiency for officers and agents that use our tech. And as a business, we have a proof of concept, fail fast and iterate. And we've come up with some ideas that I thought were absolutely awesome. They maybe weren't quite as good. Maybe agents didn't resonate, and we kind of scrapped those and we moved on with other things. So we've got that kind of fail fast. Most of our customers are kind of aware of that as well. To the point around that question, we bring them on the journey that this tech is very cutting edge for what it does. And we're probably 3 to 6 months away of it being absolutely polished to the degree that it is, not that it doesn't work, but it's just getting better and better, and the way agents use it and the way agents understand it and how they leverage it, as our tools get better and better and better and better, there's a saying in the kind of AI space that it's never going to be as bad as it is today ever again. It's the worst it's ever going to be, and our technology is pretty bloody good at the moment, if I do say so myself, but it's only ever going to get better. So let's have a look at it. I'd like to introduce you to Claire, which is a generative AI property assistant. And really what that's all about is building a tool that allows things like buyer inquiries, leasing inquiries, any kind of conversation between a buyer, and another thing that Kylie referenced there is about transparency and the way the industry is shifting. We have some interesting kind of takes on that, and traditionally an agency would want tons of leads. How do we get leads? Leads. Often when buyers engage with our tools, they get the answers they're looking for, and so they don't fill out as many forms on the back end, which from an agent's point of view is not great. But guess what? People show up to open homes and they have an experience. The buyer transparency is a good thing. It's not hidden from you. You see the buyer's engagement and the reporting's there, so you can see what buyers are talking about. But often that notion of, like, if someone hits one of the sites and they don't fill out a form, it's often because they got the answer they wanted. They still need to come through to you to go further, right? So it's not like that opportunity isn't dead if you're marketing a property, but sometimes we see that, and it's an interesting little dynamic in the industry, because when you give better tools to your customers, they're going to use those tools, they're going to get better experiences with you, not just buyers, but also potential sellers in your marketplace. And when they're having great experiences, that only comes back to you as a really good experience. So what does it kind of look like? As I said, we ingest, and this is just to talk to our model about how it kind of comes to life. We ingest that national property data, 14.8 million records, residential records around Australia. We know every update that's happening around them, so we can talk to those. We use our large language model, which allows us to talk and engage in a human-like context. We never pretend we're a human, but it allows us to generate that human-like experience like ChatGPT does. Guardrails. Now, I talked about all those things we take into consideration. These are our guardrails. It's very important. It's kind of our secret sauce. Don't let the machine do that. Do let it do that. Make sure it does that often. Don't do this. Don't do that. Make sure when you hear, you talk about that. And those guardrails can be implemented at obviously at an individual level, at a brand level. We've got tuning of the model for it to act and behave in a certain way. Multi-language. So Claire speaks 14 languages, which is pretty awesome. So if someone's on a browser and they've got a default language of Chinese or Spanish, Claire will start engaging with them in that language. What's really cool is when they put a lead through, shoots it to you in English, which is not bad. Tells you that it was in Spanish and tells you what they said in English and what they asked. We ingest branding and tone. So when we set up the model for an agency, we train it on a series of basically simple questions. How would you talk about selling experience with EXP? Or how would you talk about the buyer experience with EXP? And based off those, allows us to get a bit of a tone of how the consumer's going to interact with that and how it's going to talk to the consumer. And branding, obviously, that's super important. Make sure the colours are right, make sure the logos are right, all those things. And that's all the way, goes up to corporates that we do work with, all the way down to individual agents. From there, our next set of data that we interact with is the inquiry data. So the portal inquiries, website inquiries that come through from the likes of realestate.com.au and domain.com.au and your CRM data. So we mash all that together and we build the tool that I'm about to show you now. So here we go. So I talked about this idea of property assistant. It comes to life in a microsite context. The beauty of that little microsite is that it allows you to do things with it. We've got some people doing some amazingly creative things with it at the moment. But I want you to think about this as being the kind of the heart of Claire as a tool for you guys. It comes to life in a little microsite. It's mobile compliant. I saw someone who did a Google search of us at Propic and he was looking at it over there before. It was pretty cool. He was playing with the demo one, which I'll give you a link to play with at the end of this. But what that microsite comes to life, and or when I say microsite, it can be embedded into your actual website as well. So on the 27 Smith Street page, you can have our interactive AI chat. So what does it look like? You can drive traffic from QR codes. So different signboards or drop cards or whatever it might be. Facebook campaigns, great way to take an engaged buyer who's on Facebook and sort through those questions. And then obviously we punch out leads on the other side. The buyer experience and leasing experience on the other side, when they put an inquiry through, we shoot this back real time. It's about 20 seconds. The buyer will get something like this back. It's all branded in your words. This is a generative AI experience customized to that person's inquiry in your brand, tone, trained to market, and relevant to the question they asked. Not a canned response. It's different every time. It's built real time. The buttons that you see there are engagement buttons that drive traffic through to that site. So as I said here, we invite them to come and have a further conversation. Any of those conversations, they might be asking about finance, they might be asking about properties in the market. You get a sense of what people are doing. At the same time as we send that consumer that email as a response, we wait about 15 minutes before we send an agent their version, because we want to make sure we capture all those little extra conversations that are happening. And it looks like this. We'll tell you, John, we had an inquiry on there and we answered it. But this is pretty cool. They wanted a price guide. What we also do is we look up some third-party data sets and we augment that experience and we send you back some more information. So you would have seen at the top there, we had Shika. We actually found out a different name for Shika, found out their email address, we found out another mobile number, and we actually found an ownership record that says, hey, we think they live at this property, which is around the corner from the one they're inquiring on. They bought it 10 years ago. It's not on the market at the moment. They paid 1.4 million. Current median price for the area is about 2.3 million. So we enrich the experience via data back to the agent to have a super high quality conversation off the back of every inquiry that comes through. What does that look like in terms of numbers? After thousands and thousands of these going through the system, we've augmented about 42% of those we find an address, about 27% of them we find an address, a last sale price when they purchased, and what they paid for the property. So pretty good numbers. It's a really nice surprise when you get it. But we're obviously facilitating every inquiry, but when you get that, you know, if someone's a local area owner, you know what sort of conversation you potentially have with them. Okay, this is a pretty cool one. Clear Vision, I'm getting the wind up, so I'm going to run through this. Is that why you're coming over here, Sam? No? Okay, all right, so Clear Vision, this is a pretty cool one, and this really talks to us embedding our value proposition into your workflow, rather than, hey, here's a new system you have to log into, you have to drive it over here, it's outside your world. So if you imagine you've just got the photography done for the property, chuck in your CRM, send it to us, not the portals just yet, and we actually will send back to you in about 5 minutes a beautifully crafted advert, some social media posts, short X/Twitter version, an Instagram version, Facebook ad version, and then we give you a little button that you can click through. This is a little website that has that ad copy there, and you can read it, you can get a feel for it. You can also click on that Create New button there, and you can add a bit of data to it. So you can say things like, Claire identified that there was solar panels. She saw the photos on the roof, so she wrote an ad about solar panels, but we didn't know they were 6.8 kilowatt or whatever the right version of solar panels are. So you can say, hey, put 6.8. It's a mineral saltwater pool, make sure you put that in. You didn't highlight the views enough. We talked about adding a personalised gym and reformat the ad with 2 paragraphs and 10 bullet points, and it'll rewrite that ad for you real time. Allows you to cut and paste, bang, straight back into the CRM, and you're away. So again, it's that idea of put the data the way you normally do. We give you a new version of that advert as a stimulant to get you a really good starting process. Then you shoot that back to us, and we use that model to train. It's also floor plans. So, you know, every floor plan, it's got lounge room 2.4 by 7.6. So Claire understands all that. So even if someone asks on REA inquiry, how big's the lounge room? We'll actually go back to them and say, you know what, it's 10 square metres, it's got this, this and this and this. We also talk to things like schools, healthcare, some incredible different things. This is basically the nuts and bolts. It's an AI microsite. We do the buyer inquiry, real-time, 24/7, generative AI response, customised to that person in the context of what they answered. The agent notification comes back to you, you know exactly what's going on. We send you that augmentation data so you've got an understanding of exactly what they were talking about, where they might live, extra phone numbers, all that sort of stuff. The Clear Vision, so we'll give you a really good starting point to write those ads and kick off. Here's a couple of conversations. I'm just going to let this run here quickly. This first one here is a response. We're going to ask Claire, I've got a mother with a disability. We've got this particular scenario. I'm about 2 slides away, so it's okay. We've got a mother with disabilities. This property's suitable. Claire's going to go away, come back with a response, and she says, look, depending on the disability, it's a multi-storey property, which I found from the advert because I could see the photos. Look, there's ground floor and first floor living amenities, so it might be suitable. Without knowing exactly what the disability is, we probably should suggest you talk to the agent. But a really rich, engaging response that is always appropriate, on key, on brand for your customer, real time. And this is that buyer experience that Kylie was kind of talking about, and that transparency. I won't run through that one. That one's basically another example, similar sort of thing. Here's where we're going. So what I'm going to play now, this is a script generated by Claire and a video avatar generated by Claire talking about a property.
Hi, I am Claire, your virtual assistant for number 9 Jones Street.
So generated
I welcome
from just
you to
these
this
photos.
character-filled family residence that exudes the perfect combination of traditional charm and contemporary comforts.
Pretty bad American
Immersed
accent,
in
but
the
that's okay.
tranquility of its leafy surroundings, the home is designed to captivate with its warm timber details and expansive outdoor spaces that allow you to take full advantage of the quintessential Queensland lifestyle. The interiors boast rich polished timber
get the
flooring
idea.
that
Pretty
leads you
schmick.
through.
Also working on video avatars of individual agents. So we film, we train, it becomes you. You're up there. Speed to market. Where are we going? This is where we see this tool going. Fully autonomous AI prospecting. So taking that idea of a property that's on the market for off-market properties and training the model to talk to owners, identifying what's happening in the local marketplace, reaching out to them when something relevant happens near them, having a fully AI-generated conversation about the market, what's happening and why you should talk to John when you're ready to sell, and then capturing those leads and delivering them to agents. So look, for this, really, this is just a quick kind of thing. You guys are at an AI conference. You are the agents that are going to embrace this stuff. It is going to, I want to say, revolutionise the industry, but it is already. The people that are using these tools are getting an edge, and that's only going to continue to get to be more and more of an edge. Where what we look like in 4 or 5 years from now is potentially going to be very different from where we are now. But I think that this is a way to kind of leverage some of those things. We have an appless technology philosophy. We don't necessarily want to create this idea of you've got to use our app, you've got to log in here, you've got to do this thing. We try and make it, you know what, you used to get an inquiry here, now you're getting a really fully fledged inquiry over here. The consumer tool, the consumer experience happens out there, and you get the benefit of it in here. So, quick QR code on screen. If you wanted to grab a copy of that or hold your phone up and scan that, that'll take you to a fully AI-generated mock property that we've got at 15 Alto, so you can have a play around with that. Get a true experience of it. That's the only best way to leverage the tool, is to find out how it works and understand it. If you've got any questions or you want me to send you a copy of this presentation, absolutely, you can email me at drew@propic.com. That's the end of my press. Thank you so much. Hopefully there was good value there. And yeah, questions?
Plenty of great value. Thank you, Drew. It's Claire is so good. It's hard not to get double vision. Can I start by getting an idea from you in terms of there are about 250 chatbots in Australia alone launched in this space. Yep. What differentiates Claire from those 250 just last year, new chatbots?
Yeah, there's tons, and there's more on the market all the time. As I said before, what we try and do, tailor the tool to the industry and the consumer based on agent data and not have the agents do anything. So the upload process that you go through now with realestate.com and domain is the exact same process. You tick one extra box, Claire's live. All those inquiries they get handled real time. The email inquiry stuff, that idea of the 50 or 100 emails you've got where you can see these are the ones I want because I know what engagement they've had overnight, make the right relevant calls first thing in the morning. So we kind of have a little internal thing. When you call Claire a chatbot, you get a bit of a slap on the wrist because it's so much more than a chatbot. Sorry, mate.
No, that's all right.
But it's that idea of like, I saw a digital marketing conference, not as good as this one, Ken, but a little while ago, and they were saying, come in and there's a half-hour session. We'll teach you to build your own custom GPT and put it live on your website. And you know, there's this idea that someone, maybe one person could do that. The industry's not going to do that. And so what we try and do is build a tool that most people in the industry can get really good value from without having to, you know, be an absolute nerd at the bleeding edge of this stuff.
Thank you, Drew. Great response. Any questions from the floor? Peter is roaming around with a mic, or he was. Geez, you roam slower than dial-up. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I've just got a question. You mentioned that you're not pretending to be a human. Claire's not pretending to be a human. So it's obvious that the consumer is talking to AI. My question is, all the data that you're starting to look at and you've studied, are the consumers starting to ask more complex questions? Are they diving into that? Are they trusting that information?
Super good question. So we use a couple of things. We have a few recording modules that we use where we can see consumers engage. We've got back-end reporting. our data and anecdotal data from other chatbots is that consumers will tell a chatbot, but not Claire's not a chatbot, but chatbots more than they'll talk to a human about. So we'll get people saying questions like, I've got 250,000 deposit and I'm thinking about buying this property. There's no price guide on it. I could afford up to 1.5 million. Do you think I'd be able to put an offer in somewhere around there? And Claire would say, oh, look, based on the thing, the right thing to do with an offer is to make sure your involvement with the agent and have a conversation with them and based on blah, 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 blah. So it kind of answer it. But then when the agent gets that email, they've got that. They can see those questions, they can see those responses, and they can have appropriate conversations. So to your point, yes, the data says that people are asking more complex questions. The 90% rule of first-time engagement is from the portals for us. So we kind of unlock that dead email that sits in your inbox, and we turn that into traffic, and we have a kind of a conversation there. But that first touch, they don't know they're going to be engaging with a chatbot when they send that portal inquiry off. We just come back with an email that's nicely written, it's a great response, and we know that 80% of inquiries come in after business hours, before 9 and after 6 or 7. So that customer who's asked a question gets a response. And with that click-through, they have an engaging response. We had an agent talk to me the other day. They said it's a bit like the car configurator website. You're looking at cars, you go to one website and you can change the colour of the leather and the tyres and the da-da-da, and you can change the paint and you do all the thing. And you get 2 agent calls, one from that brand and one from the brand that didn't have the car configurator. The conversation the agent has with, or the salesperson with that person is so much more engaging because of that time they spend engaging with the product versus the one where they just got an email, thanks so much for your inquiry. But yes, more complex questions and interesting ways people are using it to generate those questions as well. Like signboards, ask me anything right now. I'm out the front of the property, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, walking my dog. Oh yeah, I'll ask something. Yeah, that sort of stuff is kind of interesting. Yes?
Thank you. Actually, I was looking for what you have for a long time. And yeah, we built a platform that which without agent we can sell the brand new properties,
Yep.
which is actually started trial already. And I was eagerly looking for what you have that is AI can service the question and answer. I tried a number of different platform solutions, but the problem was the hallucinations.
Yeah.
Because we put the numerous data or website link to this machine, and then we set the temperature high or lower, but there's still risk for the property industry. If we get a wrong information, we got a big responsibilities.
Yep.
And another thing was, I'm not sure if you're using ChatGPT technology,
Yep.
there is a data usage. So once we run out our credit and it didn't work, that is kind of how much it cost gonna be. And also some some machine can keep asking question about costing us more.
Yep.
And another, my opinion is, in your opinion, with these AI tools and then human-like service, do you think real estate agent like us would be diminished in the future or reduce the function and kind of our serviceability in the future? What your opinion is?
Okay, so 1, hallucinations. Anyone who doesn't know, that's where ChatGPT and some of these models just come up with random stuff. They'll be like, the amazing pool at 14 Johnson Street, and there's no pool anywhere.
It's relatable.
Yeah, it's in the neighbour's place, yeah. So hallucinations are a problem. Our first models, we had that, our guardrails, the data we get from the CRMs, the photography interaction. We're less relying on the model. We feed enough data through that we get very realistic answers. So hallucinations in our latest version, not an issue, but it's a real issue in AI. 2, your question was data usage. You never pay. You can have 1 million conversations, same price. One property, 27,000 conversations, another one, 57,000, you never pay extra. So it's all rolled up in the cost of the thing. 3, do I think AI makes agents redundant? It's a super good question because I want to say I don't think so in the foreseeable future. But some of the things I've seen, like Sora for video, there was a story that came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Tyler Perry makes Netflix movies. He was about to launch an $800 million studio. He saw Sora, which generates video. He stopped that. He binned that $800 million project because he saw the future and what AI can do. In the short term, I don't believe it. I don't believe at all it minimises your risk of adding value to the clients. People want to deal with people for those really important things. What I do believe it does is absolutely add efficiency. Make sure you make the right calls. Who to call, when to call, why to call. Get on the phone, build a relationship, close the deal. And we push our tools in sales to make that engagement happen. We think you should talk to John. We absolutely should put you in touch with Ben. We think you should talk to Mary. Capture, push through. PM, it's a terrible word, but we deflect a little bit more. Self-service, we curate an experience. Have you seen the property? Do you want to inspect it? Go here to organise the inspection. Have you seen that you've inspected? That's awesome. Go here to apply. So we curate an experience where we don't need that connection, but sales-wise, we want that connection. And again, agents that make the right calls without the AI are going to do really well. That's a lot of calls. That's the right calls. Agents who use the AI, they create those experiences. The trick is the consumer gets the experience. It's not about the agent changing. It's about providing a better experience for the consumer at 2:30 in the morning when they want to know about the property. You make the call. The good agents make the call the next day. You haven't lost anything. You've only gained by providing that buyer experience. And if they're a potential seller, that's a fantastic experience to have them play with a tool that might be the tool that helps sell their house. So do I think it will? Look, probably, and it'll look really different, and it'll probably get rid of the shit agents, let's be honest. But the best ones will float to the top for the longest period, which is always the case. And that was the third question. Excellent questions.
One final
down front.
question.
We've got one more question. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, it's working well. Remember I don't want to even mention it.
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
Do you want it? No, well, yeah, I better for the live streamers. Does Claire understand colloquial terms?
Give me an example.
Is the room big enough to swing a cat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Funnily enough, yeah.
So I was going to oh my gosh,
Is this thing on? No.
no, it makes me forget. When I get it, that's why I
Do you
wrote
want
it
to
down
just whisper
before.
it to me and I'll... Yeah, okay. You ask us. What's the question?
That's right.
Okay, good.
Okay.
We're ready.
So the the question I have was, is it like, I know you said that there was sort of like things that it does in order to try and get people to want to talk to the agent as well.
Yep.
Is it possible that there might be some instance, and you said set of presets with like, talk about price or don't talk about price. Can you change that for each individual property, or is that like as an overall thing for the
So
agency?
that's a great question. So there's kind of two pieces in that: the connection to agent, that side of how do we force that, and two, the property to property price type stuff. So we very well, I say very cleverly, we piggyback the way you set up your CRM, and we have the kind of REA XML integration, so we get that data you send to the portals, but we also have underlying integrations, some of the API stuff that we talked about before with the CRM. So, for example, if you, and again, I'll just pretend nice and easy, doesn't matter, but just say you didn't want to put a property price on a portal, but you did want to talk about it once you've captured the lead and now they're talking to Claire and you want to talk about price, we can use those pricing fields in the CRM, so the price guide fields and things like that. So you say, don't tick for portal, put a price guide, we get the price guide, we can flesh that out, have the conversation around it. So the customization that at a property level comes from piggybacking how you want to do the general marketing for the property, if that makes sense? Yeah? Well, okay, ask it another way then. Yep. Yep. Yeah, good question. Okay,
Do you mind repeating that, Drew?
yeah,
Just while
so I was kind of going down the line of, and again, whether you believe in it or not, no price marketing, and then we've captured the lead now, so we're happy to give the price away, and I've got their phone number so I can call them, versus the way you put the price at the same time for two properties and you want to talk about it differently. So we go through this idea of if this, then that sort of scenario. I'm oversimplifying a bit, but basically if we've got the price to market the property for the two examples and one has a property price guide and one doesn't, we would talk about that there. And if we had that and that, we would talk about it in a certain way. And if we didn't have that and we did have that, we talk about it in a certain way. So there is a way to get those scenarios to come to life, if that makes sense, by just kind of tweaking the way you push the data through. So kind of, yep, do this and this conversation will happen, and yeah, absolutely. And the second question was another piece to that? Yeah, so with the Facebook...
Just to repeat that, so
yeah.
social media inquiries?
Social media ads, Facebook, things like that. So what we do is when we generate the listing for you, at the same time as we send back that advert, we send an email with a link to the microsite and a QR code so you can use that in your marketing. That link can be the target for your Facebook ad. So when they scroll through the ad and, yep, you want to click more, you end up at the mobile compliant version of the AI chat. So yeah, you use that link, yep. And you can use it in many different ways. Some people put in the CRMs, they put in EDMs, they might just send it to a client, say, hey, yep, 17 Smith Street, you had some interest there, let's push that through. So yeah, that's available to do, definitely. So we're working on the integration. Just the extension of the data we push back to the agents is a little bit bigger than the general lead ingestion tools in the CRMs. So we're working with the likes of Rex and AgentBox and those guys to be able to take the extra data. That's the end goal, yeah, but not at the moment. But again, we give good information in emails, and you, as an agent, you rip into it. But yes, that is the goal. Look, there's something to be said for people who ask this question. This is not you. A lot of people ask the question, does it integrate with the CRM? And then when we say yes, they don't do anything with it. And it's not a criticism, but that is a experiential type scenario where if I don't have to do anything with it and I get all this amazing stuff flowing in here, I don't see it. And that's not a narrative to say we don't have the integration. We are going to work on it, absolutely, but I'd be mindful of when you ask that question to some prop techs that you don't do it so you don't have to think you have to think about it, but make sure you leverage it, if that makes sense. That sounded a bit of a slap, but it wasn't at all. Because, you know, it's like out of mind, out of sight, or out of sight, out of mind, right? Like there's mad integration going on, everything's happening behind the scenes, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that this inquiry happened and this person asked this and they did that. So just, that was all.
Exactly.
100% right.
Great
Thank
point.
you
Great
so much.
presentation and
Appreciate
great product.
that, guys.
Drew,
thanks so much.
Drew, that was fantastic. Just a quick one. The QR code you had up earlier at the end of the presentation, will that give people an opportunity to test and see?
Absolutely. That's our live site, 15 Alto Road, Seaforth. So you can ask that any number of questions. Give it a bash. Go crazy. Tell it your mother-in-law's batshit crazy and you need some mental assignment nearby and is it close to the local hospital and da-da-da-da-da, and see what she says. You'd be amazed.
Fantastic. Please put your hands together for Drew. That was excellent.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Well, we are at that point where we're about to break for morning tea, but just before we do, if you can please take out your phones. Just following on from this morning's great conversation about prop techs and what's happening in the space, Kylie Davis, who was on earlier, is also an ambassador of the PropTech Angel Investor Network, and we've got a showcase event, our launch PropTech Pitch Fest event here on the 27th of May on the Gold Coast, proudly sponsored by Reach Australia. If you upload that QR code, we're offering you as attendees of Agents AI conference in partnership with EXP, we're offering you a complimentary membership. Please put in your details, because on Friday you'll get the announcement and all of the details about our PropTech Pitch Fest on the evening of the 27th of May.